Mic check. More Masters podcast. Your host, Maine, of course. I got some special guests across from me. I got Mr. Tarika Holland and Mr. Samuel Williams. How y'all doing out there today?
Fantastic.
Great.
All right. Clapping up for y'all. I can't hear, but I can hear y'all clapping up. Well, I'm going to start this, I try to have manners. Start with the guest here, Mr. Samuel Williams. How you doing?
Fantastic, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. I want to start with you. Just kind of tell us a little about who you are, what you do. Tarika been on about 3 times, so they kind of know her, and they know the fro now, you know what I'm saying? It's the identity.
Okay. Well, I'm Samuel Williams. I'm originally from Wadley, Georgia.
Oh, okay. Wadley.
Yeah, big city Wadley.
Big city.
Got at least 28 people now.
Big city, big dreams.
Yeah. Started there, graduated from Wadley High School, attended Payne College here in Augusta. That's a long story, but I graduated with a degree in English and went on to journalism and photojournalism school and joined the military. Just got busy doing a whole lot of things. As I always tell people, I've done so many things. I've had a very eventful and a very successful life. So I'm really grateful. I'm thankful. And I always say I have nothing to complain about.
That's what's up. So, I'm talking to Tarika, and so you wrote this play that we're going to be talking about too, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you're a writer. You write books. You kind of author.
Yes, I've published 16 books.
Oh, wow.
So far, and I say so far because the next one is already written. I've just got to submit it, and I've written about 25 plays.
Wow. How many have you acted in? How many plays have you been in?
How many of my own plays
Right.
have I been in? About 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Most of them I write, maybe I'll direct, but I don't really act. I had not planned on acting in this one. That's another long story, but when the character that we had didn't work out for this particular role, I just told them, since I was familiar with the script and the character, that I would just step in and we'll keep moving.
Okay. All right. Well, Tarika, tell me how you got involved in this film. I talked to you right after the storm happened. I think last time we spoke, we did a podcast, and you had a lot of things going on. I got great feedback from that as well. Just your story, David sending your story and arts and how you got through. A lot of people did like that. Just that story of I wasn't picked, but I was chosen. If that makes sense, So talk about how you got kind of pulled into this, or if you just walked into it.
Well, so I had been in the theatrical reading series with Laney Museum. I did Vera Dotson in 7 Guitars. She's the leading lady. And I also did Tanya Headley in King Headley II. She is also the leading lady. Very unexpected getting Vera in 7 Guitars, but I'm incredibly grateful. So I met Dr. Lowe through 7 Guitars. We had been communicating on Facebook, but that was my first time meeting and working with him in person. Mm-hmm. So it just goes to show that every little thing leads you to the next thing. So I'm laughing because the story is so funny. I get a message from Mr. Williams saying, hey, have this play, da-da-da-da. Mind you, I get sent lots of messages about lots of plays, lots of shows, and most of the time they aren't legit. So I look at it, I'm like, Samuel Williams, who is this?
Who is Samuel Williams?
Who is Samuel Williams? Who is the other?
Yes, because we hadn't met at that time.
We hadn't met.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm like, who? I kind of ignored it. I'm like, I told him this story. I'm like, child, Samuel, this is just another thing. People have ideas, not gonna bring it to life. We're just gonna move on.
Right.
So then time passed by, and Dr. Lowe messages me, and he's like, hey, I've hand selected you for this role in this play by Samuel Williams. You're gonna read for this role, da-da-da-da. So I'm like, oh snap, Samuel Williams, that's the same guy that I completely ignored. Oh my gosh. Okay, hi Samuel. I was still being a little snooty not even snooty, I'm very intentional about what I do. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me read the script. Let me make sure I like it. Let me make sure this represents me well.
Right.
And I read it, and it literally moved me in such a way. I'm not going to get too personal, But I just had, when you see the play, I had a very personal family moment, like some of the moments in our play, and it was very dark and it was
Right.
very heavy, and that had just happened January 11th, and I got the script and read it like January 13th or 14th. It happened that fast, and the play directly paralleled to my life. And I told Miss, I looked around like, did you have cameras in my house? Like, what is going on? So once I read it, it touched me so deeply that I had to have a conversation to kind of get that off my mind. That's how deeply it touched me.
Right.
So I texted him, I'm like, I'm in. I'm going to do this. Sorry for ignoring. I have to do this. Even though I was very skeptical because of how deeply I connected with it, I was trying to get out of it still. I tell my counselor, I'm like, girl, there's this play. It looks a lot like my life right now. Mind you, my counselor kind of knows almost everything about me. She's like, oh, no, you have to do this. I'm like, this is our last appointment. But, even my mom, she's lived through these things with me. She's my mom, she's like, I know it's going to be hard, but you have to do this. And, I had no conversation about money. That I knew I'd be paid. I'm like, child, I ain't. But I was like, I have to do this no matter what. I don't even want to know what I don't even want to know all those logistics.
Yeah.
I'm in. I have to tell this story. So it was just all divinely aligned to go through a heavy season like that, to go through a heavy moment like that, and see that there was a bigger purpose in it. Because things in that moment, I have to kind of embody in the play or feel in the play. So even though it was one of the hardest moments of my life, it goes to show that even your pain has a purpose. So yes, that is that story.
I just want to ask some questions about the play quickly. Like, what character do you play? And if you can tell us the name or like what role is, I'm assuming it's a she. I don't want to mess
Yeah.
you don't know these days, But
Yeah.
what kind of role are you playing in this play?
Well, I play Martha. I play his daughter, Saul's
Okay.
daughter. And she's a daddy's girl. She's 17 years old. She is very courageous. She stands on how she feels. She's going to say how she feels. She does not back down. And she doesn't hate her dad. She more so hates his actions, and she wants him to do better.
Okay.
So that's Martha. She's a little scholar. She's in school despite all the things that she's going through within her household. She still is very successful as a little teenager.
Now I assume maybe you might have a real life event you're speaking on, but aside from that particular, how parallel is your life to Martha, or how Martha is to you in real life?
I really think Mr. Williams had cameras in my house. Okay, the family dynamics are the same. We were a 4-parent household. The only difference is that I'm actually the oldest sibling. My brother is younger. I actually take a lot of inspiration from my younger brother as far as channeling that kind of angst and that courage to stand up, because I'm not always like that. I like to take the high road. I like to just solve things. And my brother, even if he's wrong, he's going to say how he feels. So I take a lot of inspiration for him. But also, even Martha's relationship with her dad parallels a lot to mine. Also, just her being in school, her being successful, despite the things that she's going through, I relate to that a lot. So, yeah, Martha is me, I am she, whatever you want to say. But she's so, you spend so much time with these characters, they become like so personal to you. She is one of the most special characters I've played, despite the challenges. But she's very special to me. So, yeah.
Character based aside, just in one particular character, but like, if you can give me a synopsis, I said that word earlier, a synopsis to you. I learned that recently. If you can give me a synopsis of the play, like kind of lay it out for me without telling me the whole story, of course.
Yeah.
Just give me a synopsis of the play.
You got that one.
Okay, now the problem. The name of the play is The Other Side of Jordan.
The Other Side of Jordan.
The Other Side of Jordan.
Who's Jordan? Is it like is it a person he got?
No, it's like the Jordan River that we always hear about.
Okay.
It's like the other side of life. Or if you will, the other side of death. Okay, because the moment of death, you don't really die and cease to be active. You just transition to another form of activity.
Got you.
But this play is really built on three tenets: fathers, faith, and family. And let me get back and answer your question first, as far as the synopsis of the play. Saul, actually, when I wrote this play, I wrote it for Saul's wife, Beth, to be the central character.
Okay.
But it has come out that Saul is the central character. And Saul was an atheistic, abusive type father. And he really felt that I got it going on. There are no repercussions for anything.
Full of himself.
Yeah. I can do this for as long as I want to. And suddenly some things happen in the play. I won't get into all the details. And when they do, there's a complete realization and a complete shift in all the characters, in all the thinking, and in all the behavior. One of the messages, because other than when I just write a couple of kids' plays,
Right.
any play that I have written, you can pull it up and read it. You're going to see that there are redeeming qualities in it. It is to teach as well as to entertain.
Okay.
And so if anyone comes and sees this play, it should leave them with quite a few questions to use as self-examination tools. Now, what you do with the tools and the assessments that you make, that's up to you. But you should be able to say, I'm weak in this area and I can improve. Or I'm strong here, but I don't give enough attention here. But that's I'm trying not to just tell what the play is about. But that's the way it is. And my favorite part of the play is when I'm on stage with each member of my family, my wife, my son, my daughter, individually. And when they get a chance, she asked me a very important question on stage. She says, can we talk? And I said, well, yeah. Isn't that what we're doing? She said, no, we're just reminiscing right now. I want to talk to my dad. And so then she goes back and she talks to her dad. And when she leaves, I have a moment on stage with my son. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I have a moment on stage with my wife. And then there are instances I have moments with God. And you said something earlier before we began this. You said, I've noticed that people don't tend to turn to God until things are not going so well.
Right.
And that's something that's brought up in this play.
I wanted to ask y'all that, like, I wanted to kind of expound on that before we get more into the actual play and just other themes as well. Like, what is y'all take on that, like, personally, and how does that feel? How did you know to write that? Like, what have you seen in life and, in your journey to even pull that in writing? Like, okay, well, he's going to be this way, and this is going to happen, which is going to force him to, but not even force him. Now he's going to want to turn to God and the faith.
I have seen that so many times in so many people and so many occasions. We were talking when we were rehearsing the other day, and I was saying to them, you can take this play, you can have it performed by an all-black cast, but you can take the same play and have it performed by an all-white cast or a Hispanic cast, because what I'm writing about is universal.
It's human nature.
It's human nature. It doesn't just happen in poor homes.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen in homes where the parents are not well educated. It happens in homes, period.
Yeah.
And if we are aware of that and we are interested and proactive enough, we can prevent some of this from happening in our homes.
I wanted to touch on like the fact that it's human nature. So you're saying like it's not like it's strictly for blacks or strictly for Hispanics or strictly for women or strictly for men, or even though you said the theme is fatherhood, you got it's a daughter in there. So it's not even just fatherhood. It's I'm a child. I'm a daughter. You know. Then you got family. It's a son in there. It's a wife in there. So it's not even gender based. It's like it's equal across the board. It's not rich, poor. It's anybody. As long as you got a heartbeat, you're human.
That's it.
You can relate to this.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you may deny it. You may argue against it. But in the crevices away from the public, it's happening. And denial won't make it not happen. The only way that you make it not happen is you stand up to it and make it not happen. But denying that doesn't cause it not to happen. I counseled for a while. So having counseled kids and having counseled with families, I saw a lot of things. And what was so interesting is that the same things I saw in black families, I saw in white families, in Hispanic families, and Asian families. And the same things I saw with black kids, I saw with white kids and Asian kids and Hispanic kids. So these things are just universal.
Yeah.
And I have another play I want Tarika to direct. It's just a 4-person play. Very powerful play. We'll talk about that when we come back.
He got the cameras in your house again.
I already got another job. Okay. Trying to take a break after this one, Mr. Williams.
No, we have some good plays lined up to put on for the community.
Talk about like writing and trying to, with words and with behaviors of who acting, who's playing what role. How do you convert? How do you get someone to convert? As far as coming off as an atheist and coming off as someone who has faith.
You can't get them to convert. They have to decide that that's what they want to do. You can't get them to convert any more than, I don't know if you go to church, but any more than your pastor can get you to accept Christ.
Right.
That's a personal decision that they have to say, oh, wait a minute. Maybe there is something to this. Maybe there is something here I didn't consider, I didn't know, or I've never experienced. And they become, if you will, convicted.
Yeah.
And then they pray for conversion.
Well, let me ask, both of y'all can answer this, but like, what does faith mean to y'all? Like, how do you define faith? Not in the dictionary, of course, just you yourself. Like, how do y'all define faith? How do you practice faith? Like, how do you see faith?
I'm not as old, okay? But, being a child, your faith and your salvation is your parents' responsibility. But to just be a young woman and to have such a deep personal relationship with God now, it's my everything. Like any other person, I've strayed, I've been closed, I've been chastised because of how I did things or how I spoke or how I dressed, or because my relationship with God didn't look a particular way. That means I didn't have one at all. All of those things. But now to just begin to do my own thing and realize that God accepts me for who I am, and it's a personal relationship. It's not meant for anybody to understand. It's truly my everything. I think about the previous season of life I was in, before this play, and just how much I cried and pleaded and begged and just yearned for things that I have now. Every season is different, and like we've been saying, just remembering God in those good times. But this stage of my life and my womanhood, I've seen him work on my own, not just, oh, mama praying for me, grandma praying for me. I've seen my own prayers work at this time. And I just feel incredibly grateful, It's not always easy. Even when things are good, or even, when I lean on my own understanding and just we are his children, being a child about certain stuff, like pouting and like, I just embrace all that this walk is like. And it's not easy. It's not easy when there's so much temptation and distractions and all of those things. But yeah, faith is my everything. It really is.
But if you ask me what is faith, I think I will probably have a little bit more of a complex definition than Tarika has.
That's what I want. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I would define it this way. Now, this is not a dictionary definition, but I would say faith is belief put into action. Mm-hmm. You can never have faith in anything you don't believe in. You can't. You can't have faith in God if you do not believe there's a God. Mm-hmm. You can't have faith that God will do something for you if you don't believe God is capable of doing those things. Mm-hmm. Now, if you truly believe, I'm not saying if you articulate a belief, but if you truly have an inward belief that God exists and he's, for instance, and he's able to do these things, there will always be a corresponding action. Mm-hmm. That action is faith. You act because you truly believe. The act is your demonstration of your faith. The level to which you will act is the level of your faith. If you will act only a little bit, you got a little bit of faith. Mm-hmm. If you've probably seen some people that would do some things and you say, I don't know how they would ever do that. Mm-hmm. But their faith is greater. Even for, if you want to use the word Christians, Jesus says that. Jesus talks about people. He says, oh, you of great faith, oh, you of little faith, oh, you of no faith. Mm-hmm. So it's not just saying I believe. Belief can just be an academic knowledge, but you never actually put it into action. Mm-hmm.
I think, like I said, first of all, that was beautiful. I'm gonna clap it up for you, bro. That was a beautiful, beautiful definition. Right.
He ate me up.
That was great. I ain't gonna say, I like both of y'all though, but
yeah.
I think what his is, even in the art form, you talk about double entendre earlier. It's like, I know people here listen to him talking, they initially gonna think, biblical Christianity. But I thought, maybe because the finals on, I don't know. I'm thinking about basketball, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking about something like that, like, the game on the line. Mm-hmm. Typically, you know the ball going to. That person who got the most faith in, I made this shot. Yeah. But that's typically all the person who's practicing more, in the gym more. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Doing the extra things need to be done to be a better version of themselves, whatever the case may be. Even what you're doing, like, with acting and poetry, and going to the poetry slams, and then you're doing the spoken word here, or you're doing the spoken word there, where it's like ain't no money in that, but that's a good way to practice. And where you got other spoken words like I ain't doing that, ain't no money involved. Well, now you got a little one up on them because you done went to a whole new crowd, got a whole new maybe you got connection there that day. You never know, but I look at it like the belief in yourself. I do, and I think even the action thing is super important to me because I was gonna ask that after he answered the question so great I can ask it. I was like, what is the equation? Like algebra, you find X. How do you find faith? And I think the belief in action is, I would say the same thing because you gotta level it. Faith is faith. That's just a regular word, but the level of faith is gonna be different. Almost like even, I guess, religiosity. You know what I'm saying? Like there's levels to that. Some people they ain't missing no church event. They ain't missing nothing. And you got something like I'm gonna go every 6 months and. That's my relationship with that. That's fine.
And to piggyback off what you're saying, I go back again, even to I use Jesus always, as my baseline example. And even Jesus said, when he looked at some of the people, he says, "Such great faith have I not seen in all of Israel." So what he's telling you is, I can see your faith. Yeah. He's saying Israel are God's chosen people, and they say they believe in God. But he says, in all of Israel, I have not seen them act on their faith. I have not seen the required corresponding actions to go along with the words.
Right.
So everybody can say I'm faithful until it's time to be faithful.
Yep.
Yeah, and even if you think about the faithful, I was thinking about like whether it's whether you can compare faith to confidence or the difference between the two. And I don't know. I'm thinking now I'm at a standstill with that because faith is one thing, but then confidence is a whole different ball game. But I think they coincide with each other. Because sometimes I think you can mistake confidence for faith or vice versa.
You can.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do more thinking on that. What's the difference, of course? But it just in my mind, it just
definitely can.
As somebody talking, I just start thinking about it. Yeah. So I do like that, and that being the theme of the play with faith. Is it in multiple characters where you see like depictions of faith or lack thereof in multiple characters?
In this play?
Yes.
Yes.
And what about in your character? Like, how would you say maybe, or even in real life, whatever, like faith for your character? Was it more of a lack thereof, or was it more of the like just you can
I
see
feel
the faith?
like she's teeter-tottering in a sense because her reality doesn't align with what she knows God loving her, if that makes sense, because she's 17. So she believes in God because her family, her mother especially, is a very faithful woman, but she can't understand the pains and the suffering is a part of the process because she's just so young. I believe that Martha has a good bit of faith that her dad will get better and be better. But unfortunately, she does get that, just not a lot of time. You know what I mean? Yeah, I would say that about Martha. I think she finds it towards the end. She really gets it because she has an encounter with God without spoiling too much of the play. But she has an encounter with God. And, like God would do any of his children, he reminds her to not lean on her own understanding about what's happening. And she really learns to trust at the end of the play, despite going through something that's very hard for her.
Okay. And then like so you're playing the dad.
Correct.
All right. So what is that like? Like, I know y'all do y'all rehearsals and stuff like that, but like what do you have to tap into just to be acting on that level? Because I acted on the camera, and it's cool to see play back and stuff, but this is a one-shot deal kind of. Plays are a different ball game in my opinion. Plays is live TV.
What do I have to tap into for this particular play? I don't. I tap into. Okay. I have this belief, and I kind of got this when I was counseling. I learned you can be a father, and you can be present in the home and still be absent. You can be present and still be absent. You can be present, and your presence can do more damage than if you were away. Because in my real life now, I've been married for 48 years.
He's nothing like so.
So I know from experience that you can, how would I say it? Being married and cohabitating are not the same thing. You can cohabitate with a person and never be married. And so when I go into, or attempt to go into this character, I keep telling them every day, I say, push me, but I try to go into a character who is just, I don't want to say he's mean, he's whatever, but we discussed what would make him this way. He was in the army. Did he have, was he, we used to call him back in the day, was he shell-shocked? Did he see himself as a failure because society wouldn't let him do what he wanted, didn't realize his dreams? Is he this way because he's a product of his environment and he saw his father this way and he figured that's what manhood is? So whatever it is, I have to go to a man that I think would behave this way. And, I just have to say, okay, how would he say this to his wife?
Yeah,
How would he say this to his son? Because, my mom and dad were married until I graduated college, and then, he died of cancer. But, so I don't have a 100% role model to say, I'm going to do like this guy. But I have learned some things, and even that, I can go and pull some things up. So, yeah. I can bring this into the character. I can bring that into the character.
Well, let me ask you. I know you don't have any. You have any kids?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I know you don't. I know for sure. You're zero. Okay.
One son, one daughter.
Okay. So 1-on-1. That's what's up. I asked that because I'm trying to transition into the fatherhood. So, what does fatherhood mean to you?
Fatherhood is one of the greatest responsibilities that we can possibly have. It is our seed that is incubated in the woman, and then we are the earthly representation of what God is to us spiritually. We are, let me put it this way, then perhaps this will make sense to you, so I don't get all philosophical. When Tarika gets ready to get married, her father will walk her down the aisle. And her father, the minister will say, who gives this woman to be wed? There's a reason they never said who gives this man. Who gives this woman to be wed? What that minister is literally asking is, when this woman is born as a baby, she comes under the protection and the provisions and the sheltering of her father. And when she is ready to step out from under that, there should be another man that the father says, I do. He says, I give her. I authorize her to step from under my leadership, my guidance, my provisioning, my protection, and to step under the protection of this guy. There should never be a time when there is not a man covering her.
I like that.
Yeah.
And we as fathers are not getting these talks. Now, if you want to read and hear a very powerful play that I wrote, it's called When Men Don't Cry. But we're not getting these talks. It's not enough for you to go and make a baby with old girl over there. Because now there's old girl and old baby over there. And there's, oh, by the way, no leadership, no provisions, no protection, no mentoring. So it's not enough. Where are the men to tell our young men this, to hold them accountable? So when you ask me what is fatherhood, it is a great job. My son is in his 40s, and we talk every day. We've talked today for about an hour. He runs his own business in D.C., but he's going to call me every day. And that's just what, in my opinion, fatherhood is about. Fatherhood is not about you always being comfortable. It's about you being willing to be uncomfortable so that your seed will be comfortable. It's not about you doing your thing, except your thing should be to provide so that they can have a thing in the future.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's important what he's saying too, because some of the guys I talk to, we have these conversations sometimes, and you can always, if I don't ask a woman if she know her dad, I sometimes I already know whether she has a father figure in her life or what her dad's about just by how they move or what they talk, what they know, what they don't know. I just feel like it's a certain aura some women have when they have that leadership, I'll say, in their life, or they grew up on that leadership. and then you see a different aspect of it when they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just know. I mean, and I hate to say that, you just do. So even people that want to play or you know uh manipulate, it's so easy to do because they know leadership there. So it's easy to oh okay, no doubt. You got some guys, and it's not. I'm probably saying too much, but you got some guys who will really like, hey, hey Tarika, how you doing? What's your like? Oh, my dad. Okay, they walking away. You got a dad? Okay, I can't get you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's just how they move.
Yeah.
So even like you said, that protection is there. Just the fact that you have that will really deter a lot of manipulators away.
Yeah.
Anyway, because you came up with with certain kind of standards, morals, and values, and you saw it firsthand. Even if it was in the household, like you said, sometimes even if somebody have a dad, like they know their dad. I might not ask this question, but I can tell when the dad was there, but wasn't there. They still don't know nothing. Not in a bad way. They're just like,
Yeah.
I still see gaps where you can manipulate. Okay,
Yeah.
you didn't know this. Like, okay, well, all right,
One of the most touching things I remember when my son and my daughter, my daughter graduated from Georgia Southern years ago. She's going to beat me up now for saying years ago. But I remember being at her graduation, and I was, big crowd down there, and I was trying to run back and get off the field and everything. So this young man came up to me. He's fought his way through the crowd, and he's, Mr. Williams, Mr. Williams. I had never seen him before. I said, yeah, hey, how are you? And he introduced himself. I don't even remember his name to this day. He shook my hand. He said, I got to tell you, I just had to meet you because you're Shunderland's dad. I said, yeah. He said, I have never seen a young lady who loves her father the way she loves you. And she would tell you point blank, if you don't measure up to her dad, you can't even talk to her.
In addition to what he just said, I think it's important to bring it back to this too. I go back to the faith as well, because I always say, I don't know how old you were this time. We're just gonna say 40. It's a good age. But I don't expect a 22-year-old to be on a 40-year-old level, right?
Yeah.
But I might have faith in where you can be and where you can go based on what you're doing now. So I think that all that kind of coincides as well, because you got, like I said, that's why I think the leadership you're saying in fatherhood is important as well. It's like, well, Tarika, you know me, so I always keep my daughters around because I just want to show them, like, this is, and I talk to them, be straight up, this, that, and third. But I see some, we watch movies where they kind of depict those kind of things and things of that nature, and I think it's important, but how you move and the things you do, everybody's watching. Fatherhood is like management times 10. It's because it's valuables. It's not necessarily business. It's life.
Yeah.
One more move. I do one more move. It can mess up my daughter's view of men from going forward. So I have to be a certain way every time. All eyes on me all the time. So I thought that was dope. But I think that's nice too, because a lot of times you never know how your kid gonna talk about you.
Yeah.
You never really know. You just gotta kind of be you. So for somebody to come up to you, and shake your hand and just be so enamored with, whatever your daughter was saying about you was a good thing. It just kind of goes back to tell like what fatherhood means to you. And you gave one of the greatest definitions of all time. Twice on this podcast already. So
yeah,
I feel like
you do a whole episode with just
he might need to do his own dictionary.
No, for real.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about you? Now, obviously, you're not a father, so you can talk about fatherhood per se. But what's your views on it? Because he said it was 3 themes in there. You got family, you got fatherhood, and faith.
Yeah. Man, I'm not even gonna hold you. I'm gonna be super transparent. I think that my views of fatherhood isn't where I would like it to be, as far as my personal situation. It's getting better, I like to think. I think it's just gonna take time. One of the things in this play, Saul makes a dinner for the family, and we say this doesn't undo the years of hurt and all of the other things that we've been through. So I'm kind of in a place like that in my personal life, but also, when I've been in this previous season, the season has changed now. Storm done cleared up, thank you God. God sends us people. They don't replace those people who may have hurt us or who are, it's not even that sometimes someone doesn't want to, it's that they can't. They don't have the resources. They weren't in the right environment, and that's a lot of the case for me. But God has blessed me with people like Mr. Williams and like Mr. Lowe, and so many positive male influences. I just remember before I got this play, I just remember crying and pleading and just begging, wailing to God for that male presence because my dad wasn't in a place where he could give me what I needed in a lot of ways, and I'm literally living in answered prayers. Does it replace my dad? Absolutely not. Of course not. Um, but I like to think that our relationship would get better with time. Um, I'm grateful to be in counseling. That has helped me process a lot of things and kind of just understand a lot better versus holding the anger, holding the resentment, which is something that I do. I hold grudges, okay, but I'm working on it, okay?
Let me ask you something real quick because I know you're saying, I want to make so because we spoke about fatherhood from a different standpoint than what you're speaking on, right? But to go back to what you were talking about, how has that relationship maybe affected your choice in men or your choice in relationships? Oh, here we go. She's blowing. She huffing and puffing. She huffing and puffing. But I'm wondering if that's a direct correlation because your story might help my story. My daughter's 13, going on 14,
You're
so
so right. Yeah,
so I need to know.
Yeah.
But I also would like to know, like, when you were younger, was there a time where it was great? Like you said season. So
definitely.
like, tell me about that first quarter, second quarter. Like, what season was?
Yeah, when I was little, I'm a daddy's girl. As kind of despite this rift that we have, I'm a daddy's girl. And my dad was great growing up. He was very present. I have a lot of memories going to the candy store, the gray store in the hood, child. And then life just happens. It's not even that life wasn't happening then. You become older and you understand. And I read a lot of bell hooks. There's something that happens with fathers and daughters as their daughter gets older and they become a woman, and that's kind of where the rift kind of happened. And I'm not going to get too personal, but his upbringing and the things that he's going through, we didn't know all of those things until later. So even during the hard times, you get a new piece of information. You're like, wow, that makes sense. Why this happened or why this was this way. Being a child, you don't quite understand. So going back to the question, yeah, my dad, whether it be good or bad, has definitely affected my children. Man, read that book, okay? But something that he said earlier, and something that you even said, is that you really begin to mirror your parents. I think for a while, I'm grateful to be out of this stage. I thought I had to fight for love. I thought I had to become someone that I'm not for love. I thought I had to overly sacrifice and things like that for love, but you don't. And then just to be positive, there's certain things that I expect from a man because my dad does it. I'm not taking out no trash, okay? It's little things like that. The sidewalk rule. Just when he was able to provide that sense of not worrying about something, those are some of the positive things. Even though my dad did the best that he could, me and my mom's been talking about this. Sometimes your best isn't my best or what I needed or what I deserved. And it's hard to have a conversation like that because you may have felt that way as a child, but you didn't want to be defiant and things like that. But going back to the question, yeah, seeing my dad and my mom's relationship definitely affects my views and relationship of men and just relationships in general. And that's why I'm grateful I'm in counseling and I sort of have my own mind because I can say, oh, I'm not gonna do that, or I'm not gonna put up with that, or I'm gonna do this. This was something good. I'm gonna take this with me when I am in a relationship. So yeah, it's very bittersweet, but when you realize that we're all humans and we make mistakes, and another important thing I think I touched on a while ago is that you begin to see your parents as human beings versus this is just mom, this is just dad, that's it. You really begin to have a deeper understanding for who they are, why they do the things that they do. So yeah.
I think you said a lot. So one of the things I think I'll touch on the parent part first. I think you do see them as human beings. The older you get, because you start making choices that they had to make as well. So
Yeah.
it's always easy to judge somebody when you're not making a choice they have to make. So
Exactly.
even younger, it's not towards you, but like you saying like, oh,
Yeah.
somebody's best wasn't my best, right? Well, yeah, you didn't. You wasn't put with a choice of this or
Choice
this.
is that
You're gonna choose
big
the
at
best
that
every
age.
time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
if it's between the get, I'm just throwing something out there. If it's getting Wonder Bread and whatever
Sarah Lee.
yeah, it's like, okay, I might get the cheaper bread, but you're not buying it.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
But
Exactly.
if I can caveat that, I want to say something to the parents who may be watching your
Yeah,
podcast.
definitely.
There are 3 significant times in your kids' lives. No, okay. First, when that child is young, you literally become that child's God. They take your word for whatever you say. If you tell them, nope, the sky is pink, they'll go to school and tell their teacher, no, my mama said the sky is pink.
Yeah.
Because they believe whatever mom or dad says. Then they mature and they begin to develop the ability to think a little bit more independently. So then they begin to question what mom and dad will say. Mom, why do you say the sky is pink? The sky is blue. Mom, why do you tell me to go read a book and I never see you read one? Mom, why you tell me I have to get up and go to church on Sunday, but you stay home? They begin to question. First, they accept. Then they'll begin to question. Third, this is probably after adolescence and so forth, they will look back over their parents and their parents' lives and their parents' teachings and their parents' influence. And that's when they're going to make the final decision on the quality of parent that you really have been to them.
Yeah.
First, they're going to accept everything like, oh, my mama, my daddy said. Then they're going to say, wait a minute, mama, why do you say that? Mama, why do you do that? And then thirdly, they're going to say, well, my mom tried, but she just didn't know. Or my dad did whatever he did. And then we can come with the justifications. You know, he didn't have this, he didn't have that.
Yeah.
But those are 3 very important stages that the kids are going to go through psychologically. And if you don't impact them positively in either one of those stages, when they hit the 3rd stage, it's going to be remembered.
Yeah.
No, and it's just on a tangent, I know, but I like the conversation where it's going. I do think out of the 3 stages, to me, the most important one would be the 2nd stage. 'Cause I think how you respond to their inquisitiveness is going to be what they remember. Like even
Yes.
because if you respond just truthfully,
Yeah.
then that next stage might could take it. I'm just lazy. All right, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. They might just take it. But if you tell them some lie again, now they're like, all right, now hold up now, because
Yeah.
you've been getting on me all my whole teenage year.
And it also shows the type of
Resentment.
parent that you are too, because if you say, if they're questioning something, well, what I say goes.
But it's going to affect, whether they tell you or not, it's going to affect your credibility with them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not your authority, but your credibility.
But you know, I think as parents, and hopefully everybody watching, like, you know, people don't realize that you got a credit score with your kids.
Yes, you do.
Oof.
You do.
You got a credit score with your
I like
kids.
that,
they may not come back and say it to you face to face. They may not, ever bring it up. But in their hearts, in their souls, in their minds, they know.
Oh,
Definitely.
That's the credit score you have with them. Is going to affect your credibility with them. That's why it is better that you just tell. My son asked me a question once. At this time, we were living in Germany, and so we were getting up. We were getting ready to go to Sunday school, and so this is when he was small. So I said, "Okay, come on." Getting them ready to go. Time is tasked. Let's go over the Sunday school lesson right quick for the kids, so you know everything that you need to know in Sunday school. Okay. All right, so now what happened? And so we were talking about the big flood with Noah and everything, when the earth was flooded. And I never forgot, my son looked at me, he said, okay, Dad, so a big flood came. I said, yes, I'm just tying this tie. and everything drowned. I said, yes. He said, so Dad, you telling me that the fish drowned? He did. And I looked and I said, I never thought about that. And then I said, wait a minute. I'm not going to answer that. Let me go back
Yeah.
and do a little bit more reading. I'm just going to have to, we were all going to church,
Right,
but I'm
right.
going to have to send you off to your Sunday school class without that answer.
Yeah.
And when you come back, we're going to find it. And then we did. We found the answer.
I don't know if you know,
And
but
so
that's
it
a
was-
plus 50 in your credit score. So plus 50 in your credit score.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I learned instead of, you don't have to have all the answers. If you have all the answers, it means you know everything.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for your kids to know that as well, because I'm gonna make a post soon. I got days on my certain part. I feel like it's not a Tuesday post, but I was gonna post something, and I'm glad that I can kind of test it with y'all. Like, sometimes as kids, we want to emulate our parents from a young age. We want to emulate our parents, and sometimes, sadly enough, that's the start of a lot of our problems.
Yeah.
And I know it's something that everybody don't want to agree to, but
Yeah.
depending on the type of parent you are, that can be a start of a lot of problems for your kid to come.
Yes.
So I just think that based on what you just said, I think that's important. Like,
Yeah.
also, I'm gonna get that answer for you, because if I just answer it right now, right,
Yeah.
and I'm always doing that. Oh, why this? Okay, here we go. Oh, why this? And I'm giving you an answer. Well, you're gonna start doing the same thing. Be wrong in school, wrong and loud. I know you've seen a lot of it in your life. Wrong and loud in school, wrong and loud in school, but think they know it all.
Yeah.
But they emulating something that they're seeing
Yeah.
because they still believing in step one of the three. They believe
And,
in being
and
parents.
parents cannot be afraid to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
There is too much knowledge out there for any one person to know it all. So say, hey, let's grow together. Let's go find it. Let's go find out the answer to your question together. And that's really what my son and I did.
Wow.
But I think when you talk about fatherhood, let me just say parenthood, but I know it's fatherhood for the play. When you talk about parenthood, I think it's always important if you're going to learn, it's okay to learn with your kids.
Yeah.
They see that and they trickle on down. Like, I feel like I want my daughters to be better parents than I am. And I feel like I'm a good parent, so I want them to be great, and I want them the next to be amazing and just keep going better and better,
Yeah.
because you passing down positive and good traits. You know what I'm saying? Instead of what we were used to, like, oh, I said this, so this is what it's gonna be. It was a period that was like, that was the thing. Oh, because I said so. That's enough. The wrong answer was because I said so. So you don't question it. That was fair. So a lot of different things in there. But I want to get back to some more so in the play. And then so we talk about faith. We talk about fatherhood, but about family. So it's more than just obviously the dad, more than just the daughter. But you got a wife, you got a marriage, you got sibling rivalry, siblinghood.
Yeah.
You got siblings, like brother, sister.
5 sisters.
You the only boy?
Yes.
Well, man, obviously now, but oh
Yeah.
God, you the youngest, oldest?
No, I was the youngest for 16 years though.
That's a whole nother story. Okay.
Tell you got to get them
That's
on
a lot.
here.
That's a lot.
I'm telling you, listen.
Yeah, that's a lot. 16 years is
Yeah.
a lot. That's okay. All right. Well, so you was in 10th grade. You had a baby sister or a baby brother. Sister. I'm sorry,
Sister.
no brother. That's a lot. 5 girls.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't imagine. I got 2 and they run me. So I just,
People say that, but we have always, and I'm not lying when I say this, we've always had a good relationship. And if you ask my wife, she's going to tell you, yeah, because you're spoiled. They just spoil you. But my wife only has brothers, and she's the baby.
and she get
So she's accustomed to being spoiled too.
Right.
Yeah.
But we've always had a good relationship. We maintained good relationships even today. I was a little jealous when my youngest sister came along, because I had been the baby of the family for so long. And it was like an unexpected pregnancy. And then I guess I was a little upset because I thought, sure, I was going to have all the other girls, so I know I
Right.
gotta
It's
have
gotta
another
be a
brother.
boy, yeah.
And I still didn't get another brother. So, but other than that, it was great, really. We still call, communicate at each other's houses. My mom's 94. We're at her house. She still drives and cooks family dinners and everything right now. So uh, I'll be honest with you, and I've said this to them. They think I'm joking. I've had a good life. I have
I don't think
nothing.
you're joking.
I have nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
Nothing.
But this is different than what I hear a lot of men, me myself, say. I work somewhere, and most times people they ask you how you doing, and I always just say, "I can't complain," right? So we just say, and they, the guys are who gonna listen? We laugh about it, ha ha, and you go out the day. But he's saying something totally different than what we say. He's saying like, "I have no complaints."
Yeah.
I ain't saying I can't complain. I just have none.
Yeah.
Listen, I used to teach school, and there was this lady, and she was a minister. She was a reverend, and she would get to school early every day. She opened up the school literally. She'd been there so long. She was a science teacher, and I would go in and I would say, "Miss Johnson, how are you today?" And every day she would say the same thing. She was, how did she say it? Miss Johnson would say, I'm all right, or something like that. So one day, every day she would ask me too, Mr. Williams, how are you? I said, I'm absolutely fantastic. And so one day she asked me, she said, Mr. Williams, how is it that every day I ask you, how are you doing? And you are absolutely fantastic. And I remember saying to her, Miss Johnson, is there any other way to be? I don't know any other way to be.
Wow.
How else am I going to be? Somebody showed me the grace to wake me up. I have a roof over my head. I'm in good health. I can eat whatever I want. I mean, as far as the material things are concerned, food and the cars there, I got what else is there? Unless I start operating in just pure greed. What else is there? I should be walking around, as we call it today, with an attitude of gratitude. I am absolutely great because somebody did not, in the real world, somebody didn't wake up this morning. Somebody has all sorts of ailments going on in their bodies.
Yeah.
I'm not experiencing that. And if I'm going to complain while I'm up and healthy, my God, what am I going to say if something like that ever hits me? If I'm already complaining?
Yeah. Wow.
That's
Do
powerful.
you not understand what you say? If you believe it, the power of life and death is in the tongue.
Yeah.
And that's what your tongue is releasing in your environment about you? No, ma'am. I am absolutely great.
Wow.
A lot of that is indicative of great faith as well too. Though I know you said earlier you said about the level of faith, but I think just operating on that, like like you said, I woke up this morning. I woke me up this morning. I roof over my head. I'm not wanting for nothing unless I'm operating of greed. Just having that faith mentality is also put you in a better mood already. So already you not saying to that person, but it's like somebody will question your level of joy because of their faith.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Yeah.
I think that was dope. That's a good story. What about you with siblings? I know you didn't get into it. Like you got a sibling though.
Yeah, I have a younger brother. He's 22. Yeah.
What was your relationship like? And I'm asking this in the sense of like y'all grew up in the same household,
Yeah.
right? Same mom, same dad. But then, like, what is it like with siblings? Not just with each other, but like versus mom, dad, versus mom, versus dad. Like, I mean, like that. Like, what is that family dynamic like?
Yeah, I love my brother. He is the coolest person that I know. He can go get along with anybody, make friends anywhere. He's good at multiple things without having to try. We grew up, under the same house, same mom, same dad. And we were very, very close growing up, went to the same elementary school and things like that. Grew up WWE, da 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 da, like just crack it up, you know. I think we began to shift a little bit because I don't know if you've ever experienced this, going through the same path as a sibling sometimes, especially me being the oldest, they can kind of feel like they're in your shadow. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we've always stayed close, but he kind of went like I went to Davidson, he went to a normal middle and high school. So his he really lived a different childhood than me.
Right.
Aside from what we lived together going to the same school, because he saw more of real life, especially being from here, being from the bottom, versus I still grew up in it, but I was a lot more sheltered
Yeah.
because our paths went a different way. He used to be so frustrated, like, oh, I'm in her shadow and da 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 da, you know what I mean? So yeah, he has grown up and he's just finding his way as a man, I think. I think we've gotten closer together just because some life things happening and just I think I've really learned this year what it means to love and accept somebody for who they are, even if you don't understand their choices, even if you don't agree. Um, and I think that's where I am with him. I definitely, just in life in general, it gets so busy with work and life happening. I want to be more intentional about spending more time with him because I miss that. Um, you know, I grew up, I became a teenager. I started going through things that he didn't know about till after I had been through them, you know. So especially us getting older, you know, we understand each other in a way that nobody does. Our synergy, our we be having to deal with mom and dad, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
It sounds similar though, because you said
yeah, so
earlier.
it really parallels to the play. Only difference is that I'm older and my brother is younger. But in the play, I play the youngest. So I really pull a lot of inspo from him because if you know anything, I don't know, you got two girls. You know anything about that second child,
Oh yeah, that's the one.
they are off the chain.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I admire my brother's courage and just how brave he is and how charismatic he is. So yeah, that's what my sibling
I,
relationship is like.
but
Yeah.
I asked that because I know 'cause I got siblings as well, and I think that it's something we talked about how much of you can kind of sway away. Like I think he did maybe take it his own identity,
Yeah.
but so much of our identity is based around the people we admire
Yeah.
or what we admire from someone.
Yeah,
So if you
definitely.
admire your brother's like his strength, his courage,
Mhm.
but you may feel like I'm not courageous,
Yeah.
deep down you got it there. Y'all just get the same DNA. You got it there somewhere.
Yeah.
But even if you're
Yeah.
pulling from I'm looking
Exactly.
for my brother, that's still part of you.
Like he's younger in age, but in some ways he is older.
You probably
I
want
can't talk to nobody. I can't look at no.
oh
I'm like, oh my God, please,
well, he's a brother.
TJ, please.
But that go back into even whatever he might have gotten, like somebody being in the house, just the leadership.
Yeah,
So maybe in somebody else's absence, I'm gonna step up. Hey, you ain't doing
yeah,
that. Oh well,
yeah.
you know, don't think because this is going on, you're gonna do
Mm-hmm.
this. So I like that. That's what brothers supposed to
Yeah,
do. But
yeah.
something y'all both said, and I wanted to kind of touch on it. You mentioned it earlier. Well, you mentioned it earlier too, and he mentioned back and again. But you were saying like sometimes even in your real life, like maybe your dad had went through some things and y'all found out later on. And then
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned earlier, you was like, well, I was trying to pull from this character. I'm trying to figure out like what could somebody go through to make them
Mm-hmm.
this way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because talking to you, you don't have that problem. You wake up and everything is you good.
Mhm.
Absolutely fine. You said right. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to like try to channel that through certain people. So has
Mm-hmm.
there been someone that I guess for you when you was trying to tap into this role of like, okay, maybe I know somebody who's not a bad person, but maybe they grumpy, or maybe they feel like does them a bad hand. Because sometimes what
Mm-hmm.
it be, they be upset, bitter, resentment towards life. It's nothing that you did, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
mad at the world and you in front of me. And right now
Yeah,
you might be the world,
yeah.
Or um, I don't know if you're into poetry. I know you are. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you're into poetry or not, but I think one of my favorite poems or pieces of work is Langston Hughes. What happened to a dream deferred? And
Mm-hmm.
I always when I think of and not against women, I think of a man
Yeah.
coming to a point in his life where maybe he's lost faith.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's upset at the world. Most time for a mistake he probably made, but we're gonna blame the world because it's easier. I ain't gotta do no work. If I blame the world, I ain't gotta do nothing myself. I ain't gotta get better. It's
Mm-hmm.
everybody else's fault. But I think of those kind of people or those situations when I think of what happened to a dream deferred. Because when somebody got a dream and they got a faith, dream,
Yeah.
faith, which is all, I think is, I'm getting my vocab now. You got dream, faith, confidence. I think all that kind of coincides, right? But when you got somebody that has that, they're a different person. They joyous because they feel like they can see it. I can live it. When that gets deferral, it's like it's crumble. They feel like that door done closed.
Yeah.
They're a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Maya Angelou's poem. I can't call the name of it right now, but she talks about the. It'll come to my mind.
On tip of your tongue.
But yeah, it'll come to my mind. But she talks about this, and in the and there's another poem. Well, I'll tell you what are some powerful words. The Black National Anthem. Lift every voice and sing.
Yeah.
And I think it's the second or the third stanza and talks about when hope unborn had died.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever read the words there, when hope unborn had died. How do you die before you even born? But that's what a lot of men back in this era, because this is set back in the 50s. While I'm talking, I'm trying to think of the name of that poem by Maya Angelou. It's the one that's named for her autobiography.
Is it Stella Rise?
Phenomenal Woman?
No.
Oh,
She
Bro, I think I thought it was Stella Rise. I know that.
I should probably know this, but
it's the one named for her.
I know why Cage Bird sing. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
I was like, come on, I know enough.
Man.
Come on. Yeah.
Deep poem.
Yeah.
Deep poem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many meanings on so many levels. But when I read those the lyrics, James Weldon Johnson, when hope unborn had died, that means that there were Black men, Black families who, from the time that they were born, understood that the hope that they had was killed off before they became a person.
Wow.
Just because of, and I'll give you an example. When I was in middle school then, and I was helping during the summer to paint the schools and everything. So there was an older person there, and he looked at me. He said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be a pilot, and I want to be a journalist." And the old man looked at me, and my dad came walking down the hall. He said, "You need to talk to your boy." My dad said, "What?" He told me he wants to be a pilot and he wants to be a journalist. You better tell him to be something that we can really be.
Man.
Yeah.
And he said that in front of me. In other, hope unborn had died. I said, it'll never happen. When I went to flight school, I was 29 years old. When I went to journalism school, after I'd finished with my bachelor's, I was 23 years old.
Did both of them.
Did both of them.
Wow.
That's a good talk about projection too, because that you project that off into the world.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I don't know if y'all watch the Five Heartbeats, but Five Heartbeats got that famous song like "You ain't gonna be because I ain't
Right.
What is that?
And then look what he did. Oh, bugger.
Oh.
And then look what he did. Like he ended up being on drugs and it's projection. You can project that on.
Can I add something to that?
Definitely.
I taught once, and I won't say the name of the school or anything, but I taught once, and one of my students was arrested. And actually, it's 3 of them that were arrested. But one of them, as soon as he got in jail, he wrote me. And I said, "Son," he was asking me to come see him. I said, "Why did you do this? You had just signed a full scholarship to play ball at the school." I never forgot what this kid said to me. Wrote back to him. He said, Mr. Williams, I appreciate everything that you've done for me. He said, but my dad is in jail. My mom is in jail. And all of my uncles are in jail. So I knew it was just a matter of time before I ended up in jail.
Damn.
If I am not mistaken, he's still in jail today. For that one mistake that he made. Because their lives were projected onto him, and he could not get his belief, his hope outside of there is something big. He had already, when we had the signing day for colleges, he had signed.
Yeah.
He was signed. Like, dude.
You know, some of that, it'd be a couple of things too. Some of that, it'd be a mix. Sometimes it's a mixture of a lot of things. It's not just one theme. It's a product of your environment. It's you are the company you keep. You know, I'm a firm believer is you gonna get as far as people around you for no reason. So if I'm around, I might not sell drugs. I shouldn't hang around drug dealers then. I may get caught up in something they got going on just because I'm about them. You know, I might not be a hustler, but if I hang around people that's doing great business moves, I might walk into something and now I'm well off. It just depends on what you're around. But then also, you know, I think, like I said earlier, I think at an early age, I don't know why, it's common to do. I think it's human nature to do. You have people who want to emulate their parents or their uncles at a young age, and like I said, that usually be the start of a lot of problems for them.
And it does not.
Human nature.
I'm killing this, but it works for both genders. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I pull a lot from my real life experiences. The first year I taught school, I taught 7th grade, and it was probably the first week of school. So we're in the cafeteria and we are eating, and I'm sitting at the head of the table, and my class is sitting eating. So the young lady, girl, 7th grader, is sitting there. And we started to talk, and she started to tell me about, how happy, you know, her parents were. Her mom was, I'm going to my sister's baby shower. And my mom was so happy. And so I said, oh, you got a sister? She's married? No, Mr. Williams, you know my sister ain't married. I didn't know her sister because it was the first year I had taught. So it's not like I had taught somebody else.
Right.
So I said, well, how old is your sister? 16. I said, and your mom is happy about that? She said, yes. I said, well, let me tell you something. I said, when you decide to have babies, let's make sure we do this the right way. Let's get a husband. You know, let's take it step by step. That little girl told me the first year I started teaching, Mr. Williams, my mama told me I don't need a man for nothing but to get pregnant. A 7th grade girl told me that.
12 years old.
Wow.
She said, my mama said, I don't need a man for nothing but to get pregnant. And after that, I can get it. I can get my housing, I can get my food stamps, I can get whatever. But I don't.
Once again, sometimes our first mistakes is wanting to be just like our parents.
Yeah.
You know, I had a similar experience. My mother cursed me out when I said it. And I told her, I was like, well, Mom, I don't want to go to college after I finish school. I want to be like you. Mom said, hey, look. Excuse my language. They don't fucking do that. Like,
right.
She was like, no, you don't want to do that. So, and then she just broke it down. She's like, you don't see this. You don't see me struggling. You don't see I had to do this to pay that.
Right.
I couldn't get this. I got you that. You see what I got you. You don't see the sacrifice I'm making behind the scenes. I'm making it look good because I don't want y'all going into the world thinking that, you know, we just can't do certain things.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, go to school.
Yeah.
I said, all right. Well, that was the question part for me. So I felt like her credit score was high, you know. So yeah, I think it's funny. Like that's why I like having this kind of conversation. I feel like when you do it right and you talk about art and you break it down, like it's y'all the players in the 50s. You know, we talking about from 50s. We got 3 different generations right here. I'm a little older than her, so a little bit, but still. So we got different generations right here. So I think even how we all talking is all kind of the art brought us here.
Yeah.
Just from three words. He said family, faith, and fatherhood. You get into all that stuff, just that alone. And I think that's important. And that's why I like plays. I like to, like he said, he write his stuff and he write his plays, and it's to make you think. Like art should. You don't have to always imitate life per se, but if it is, then how can I get better?
Yeah.
We got so many movies, so many books, songs, music, art, whatever kind of art you like. There's so much different versions of that where you can take it and say, okay, I can be a better version of myself. If for whatever reason you're not going to do the Bible, or you're not going to go to church, but you can art will get you there. Art will get you there as well, just from talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even you said like he was kind of the atheist at first, and I'm assuming something happened that he kind of pivots. That's real life for everybody.
Yeah.
You don't gotta go to church to know that. But that's the thing. I had that, and I wanted to say that I had something I would do at the time when I was trying to be in management before I got in it. I always felt like when I got an interview, I would go to church, right? 'Cause I felt like, let me ask God to give me this job. I would get upset when I didn't get the job.
Right.
Happened twice. I said, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
But I also feel like he was saying with the faith, like I felt like one, I wasn't ready anyway. So faith, it was two things, like double entendre. Faith to me was like that was God's way of saying like not yet. It's not that I don't want to give it to you because I'm glad you're here,
Yeah.
but you ain't ready yet. Or that ain't what you want. That ain't that. And I think it happened at the right time, perfect time, because I stayed the course and did my thing. But I think faith, you can break that down so many different ways, even if you don't want to put anything biblical in it.
Yeah.
Because faith is like the beautiful definition he gave. He had the Samuel Williams definition,
Yeah.
Well, that's because if I really, really told you some of my experiences, you understand why I say some things that I do. Because I'm not what would you call it? I'm not so much of a scholar when it comes to some. I know faith by having to operate in faith. And so, okay, can I share a quick example? Okay, I'm sure.
That's what podcast is for. I know you said it a few times, like, it's a long story. Podcast is definitely for long stories.
Okay, so let me give you an example. One day, this is when we were living in Japan, because we lived there for 10 years. So I got up and I told my wife, I said, I got all these papers. This was on a Sunday. I said, I got to turn this in Monday. I can't go to church today. So she said, well, okay. So later, I said, something wouldn't let me stay home. And so I went and told my wife, I said, we got to go to church today. She said, I knew we were going. I already got my clothes out. And so we went in and we got dressed, went to church. This is a true story. And hundreds of people can verify it. We went to church. And I sat where I normally sit and everything. So one of my friends, Joe, brought the word for the day. And he said, we just want to have an altar call and pray for people who want to be prayed for. So if you can imagine across here, there's a minister. And this is the end over here. So I'm standing down here because I hadn't even expected to be in church today.
Right.
I promise you, with God as my witness, there was a hand, just this physical, that touched me on my shoulder here and pushed me all the way to the end, past the first minister there. And I stood there. And a lady came up whom I'd never seen. She didn't even attend our service. That was the first time she'd ever been to our service. And she came up and came right to where I was standing and stopped. And she said, I need to pray. No, she didn't. She said, I need prayer. I said, okay. And I used to do prayer like workout. I was really into staying in shape when it came to praying. And so I said, okay. I said, what would you like to pray for? So that our faith is in agreement, in other words. I don't want to be praying for A and you asking for B. So I asked her, I said, tell me what it is you want to pray for. She said, no, I just need prayer. I said, okay. So we started to pray. And in the middle of the prayer, the Holy Spirit speaks to me and says, stop. It's just like I'm talking to y'all. Tell her to tell you why I sent her here. I said, ma'am, I have to be obedient because I'm not the one, whatever you're praying for, I can't give it to you.
Yeah.
I said, so I have to be obedient to the giver. And the giver says, tell me why he sent you here. She said, because I went and had my checkup and they have found that I have, I think it was stage 4 advanced cancer. And she didn't even know it. She said, I have advanced cancer and they are going to medevac me from Japan to Tripoli in Hawaii to the big hospital tomorrow, Monday. I said, okay, now I know what we're praying for. So I went back to praying for her. Completely out of my control. The Holy Spirit just stopped me and said, tell this congregation, and these are the words, that this lady, now I would never do that. If she asked me to pray for her, I would just pray for her. Tell the congregation that, now bear in mind, we had the largest congregation in the Pacific. Tell this congregation that this lady has cancer. I sent her here for you to pray for her. And I'm going to heal her in their presence today so that they know I am God and I still work miracles. And I said it to the congregation, knowing I can't heal no cancer. I said it to the congregation.
Wow.
And then I told her, I said, now when you go tomorrow, because they have to do the last checks and everything before they put on the plane to medevac her, I said, you are to, and the scriptures were just rolling out like water. I said, say this. Every time you do, you are cocooning yourself in the word of God. Now, here's why I was telling you earlier about believing. I said, but if you do not believe what you are saying, it will not work. You cannot fool the Holy Spirit no matter how smart you may think you are. You can't fool the Holy Spirit. I said, so you say this, cocoon yourself in God's word. He's going to take care of the rest. So she goes, she leaves church. She goes to the hospital in Yokosuka. She goes to the hospital there that Monday. So we don't see her the next Sunday. So we say, okay, she's been medevac. She's gone to Tripoli. The next Sunday, the lady walks back up in church. And she comes down and she says, can I please give a testimony? I said, yes, ma'am. She got the mic. She says, when I got my report, I was so distraught. I had no idea what to do. She said, I'm a Christian too. She said, I just started to pray and God said, you go to that church on Sunday, that chapel, and I'm going to have my prayer warrior there to pray for you. She said, I say it to God. God, I don't know those people. She said, God said to her, yes, but I do. You go and I'll have the prayer warrior there. Then I understood why I couldn't stay home, why something kept bothering me and I couldn't stay home.
Yeah.
She said, just as you told me, they were pushing me all around and they were just panicking and they didn't know what to do. And finally, after hours, they called me in and they said, listen, these were your original x-rays. You can see boom, boom, boom here, all in your lungs and everything else. These are the x-rays we just took minutes ago. Not only do you not have cancer, there are not even any signs that you ever had cancer.
Wow.
She said, there are no signs. She said, I'm cancer free. no treatment. She said, I said to my doctor, it's a miracle. She said, the doctor said, because of our profession, we cannot use the word miracle. But I will tell you what we are looking at is miraculous.
Wow. Yep.
That's powerful.
So when I tell people about belief and then the corresponding action, it's not because I read it in the book. Because from that same hospital, that was a young lady and her husband had been married for 13 years, had been trying to have kids. They couldn't have kids. They tried to have kids for 11 of the 13. Couldn't have kids. They were about to adopt. And a nurse in there said, go down to the chapel on Sunday, ask Elder Williams to pray for you. Tell him what you want. I asked, they said, we want kids. I said, no problem. We prayed for them, husband and wife, in front of the congregation and told them they could choose a name that day if they wanted to. Before we left Japan, they had 2 sons biologically. So when people are debating with me, I don't have a problem sitting back listening to your erudite and your scholarly arguments. But if you don't know your God, like I know mine, I just feel sorry for you.
That's heavy. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Definitely powerful. That is powerful.
Yeah. So that's why I say a lot of things like, no. You can't tell God, I believe you, God, I believe, but I'm not going to move on this. No, I'm moving on this, God, because I believe you. How do I give you anything to bless if I'm standing here where I think is safe? So I can go and tell you story after story after story like that. And so people look at you and think that you're crazy. And that's fine with me. I don't have a problem with that. I do not have a problem with that. But I can tell you of specific things we have prayed for. And specifically, after prayer, they have come into manifestation. So when you a father, no. When you walk in there, you cover your house.
Yeah.
You walk into your house, you pray a covering over your house. You pray a covering over your wife. You pray a covering over your daughters. You bind the power of Satan in your house. You cast them out. You put him beneath your feet. You are in God's image. What are you walking around scared of? If you're in God's image and you still scared, my goodness. The problem is not that you don't have the power. The problem is that you don't believe in the power that you have. And when you don't believe in it, it does not work.
Yeah.
But I'll stop because you didn't ask me to preach. You asked me to come here.
No, but no, it's all go hand in hand. Because like I said, it's still all go back to the play. So it's fine. It all go back to the play either way. Because it's still faith, and your belief is to me is synonymous with faith, family, and fatherhood. Yeah. But I know that we said a lot. I do want to say. So what day is this play? What day?
Yes, it is Saturday, July 26, 2025 at the Augusta University Maxwell Theater. The show starts at 3 p.m. and the tickets are available on eventbrite.com.
Is it only going to be one showing?
One show.
Okay.
As of right now.
Okay.
He already.
The reason why I asked that question is because I see a lot of plays after the fact. Like, I see the pictures and I'm like, oh, when was this?
When was this, right?
And I feel like I don't know all the outlets, but you got outlets in the city where it's like, okay, like you did. I think how you did it perfect. You hit me up. You was like, hey, look.
Yeah.
You cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. But if it's art, I'm always going to say yes because I feel like I'm going to make space for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make time for it.
Yeah.
And I want to put things in the forefront where I got the voice, where I got the eyes on my platform to the city and say, hey, this is what we're doing here. This is what they're doing here. This is what they're doing here. I don't care what it is. You could have said, I got a spoken word performance tomorrow. And it's outside, but it's only 5. I'm going to say, come on, let's talk about it.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But that's what I want to do. So I asked that question. So right now it's just one showing. So get the tickets while you can, because right now it's just one showing.
Yes.
Okay. And so July 26th, Augusta Maxwell Theater, 3 p.m.
Yes.
on Saturday.
Yes.
It's gonna be a hot day too.
Yeah.
It's hot summer already. It's gonna be 100 degrees next 3 days. It's insane. One of the things that I don't, it annoys me when it's not me saying it, of course, but like we know it's going to get hot every year. I just feel like it get hotter every year.
Oh
I
my
feel like,
God.
and it's the same degrees, it's the same degrees, right? It's 100 but I just feel like this 100 is different than last year's 100.
Yeah.
Every year it get hotter to me, so I just get upset.
Right.
Okay, is there anything particular that you want people like when they come in and they watch this? Like, how do you want them to consume this? What you want them to do leading up to coming to the show? Like should they have a free mind? Should they, look a certain way? Have should they go to church first? Because it's Sunday, right? You said Saturday, no? So what should they do? Like, how should they approach? Or what can they expect when they come watch this play?
I think that no one's going to leave the same person they walked in as. Prepared to be moved, prepared to cry, prepared to think. I think those are the biggest things without giving something away.
You said something earlier in the text message, and I looked at it for days, and I didn't ask you because we had a good conversation, so it's a lot.
Yeah.
But you told me you were like it's a gospel play, right? But you said I'll give you a +1. I don't know if you want to bring your girl, but it's mature. So I was unsure what mature was if it's a gospel play. So what do you mean when you said that?
Yeah.
Mature as in what?
I would say the subject matters. We deal with addiction and alcoholism and abuse. It get better towards the, a little better.
No, not that. Just when you said, I'm thinking, so nudity, sexual, I'm thinking something like that when I say, okay.
It's not even as much the language. It's more so the things that the character's going through. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do say some cuss words, Martha.
It's family friendly though.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Yeah.
Everything I write is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So is it gonna be like singing in the middle of stuff? Like when I think of play, you said gospel automatically. I'm sorry. I'm Tyler Perry.
You're good. You're good.
So I'm trying to make sure like I'm good. So are they gonna be acting and singing, or is it just straight acting?
Dominantly
I don't know how plays
acting.
work. So is it like is it like I seen some Shakespeare plays and stuff in school. Is it like act 1? Okay, boom, y'all gotta leave. Act 2, is it like that?
Yeah, it's 3 acts. There's gonna be a little singing. I ain't doing no singing unless I have to.
But you can sing. You went to Davidson, so
I'd rather not. But it's in 3 acts. We're gonna have an intermission. There was something specific that you asked. I got away from the question. But
well, I was asking how you want to consume the play.
Yeah. I am very transparent about it being heavy because I know that, like he said, people go through this. This is real stuff, So if you're more sensitive to things like that, just brace yourself for the things that we're gonna talk about. You see what I mean?
Bring your tissue.
Yeah. What do you say about how?
Well, I'll say this. There's not a lot of singing in this play. I really feel that if we decide to expand it out a little bit more, throw in a couple of, the gospel groups or whatever, I think it would make it even more powerful.
Yeah.
But we intentionally, this is about 90% acting.
Yeah.
Because for one thing, we didn't want to keep the crowd there for an extended period of time.
Like it's church.
We don't want to get them bored.
A little bit of church, a little piece of church.
So it's basically acting.
Yeah.
Right.
But enjoyable, I think. And just to add on to that, we are going to be doing several more. So people stay in contact because one thing we're trying to do is just to use the local talent.
Yeah.
So that people who are into the arts but say I don't really have any place to display my skills. Musicians, dancers, actors, directors, so we have plenty more written and lined up, ready to go.
Yeah.
We just opted to do this one first.
And I should have asked it earlier, but the level of difficulty, like to follow autoplay. You've done you've acted in quite a few. You've done a lot. Like, is it hard to execute that? Like, you got your rehearsals, you practicing, and then it's showtime. I mean the execution of it. Who, like earlier you said, gonna be on the door? Is it like people there doing
Yeah.
tickets? Is it like because it's all game time decision, kind of like what happens if somebody gets sick that day? All the
Yeah.
stuff like how hard is it to actually successfully execute and follow throughout with a play?
Absolutely. So we both have multiple roles in the play. We're playing lead characters, and we also have been essentially producing the play. He got the money. I ain't okay. But because he came in the play unexpected to be a cast member, I saw kind of the void that we had far as organization and scheduling and things like that. I just hopped in. He didn't ask me. I just did it because I know that those things help me. And I know I'm going to perform well. That's not even to be arrogant. That's because I trust my skills and I know I'm going to do the work.
Sound like faith to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yo, that
And
smile. There you go.
so I don't care about just me doing well. I know I'm going to do well. I care about what's going to make my castmates do well as well because it's a group effort.
Right.
I can do well all day long. Okay, cool, but I want all of us to succeed. So when I saw this void for things that we would need that would just make the production flow smoother, I just stepped in. And that led me to essentially co-directing, which you mentioned the play that I was directing before
Right.
Hurricane Helene. God always spins. I didn't think it would come back around this early, but I'm grateful. And Mr. Lowe is incredible. I don't know if you know Mr. Lowe. No?
I know Lowe's.
Oh, you gotta meet. He will give you
Yeah.
he give you a podcast series
Yes.
What do you do?
of his stories.
I probably heard his name before. What do you do?
He's
Well,
an actor.
Yeah,
He's a reverend.
He's an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was somebody you texted me in the group. I'm probably putting on the spot now, but you texted me in the group chat with somebody one time. It was I can't think of the guy's name.
Oh, Anthony Page. He never got back. He never.
We know he did, but we just
It's just time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a
always tell
creative, so
myself-
his brain just be.
But I like to do art to me in abundance. So like,
Yeah.
say after this play, I might just go in the arts bag and do arts the next
Oh,
5
you
people,
gotta get Mr.
so.
First of all, you can get this man back on
Yeah,
by himself.
he got to come back on anyway.
Then you
I
gotta get
the whole
Mr. Lowe.
story.
Oh, you gonna have a good time with Mr. Lowe. But he paved the way for us for Black theater here in Augusta. He brought in some photos and his awards, and it's just like wow to be under his mentorship.
Mhm.
And just, we connected on Facebook. He just saw what I was doing. He just believed in me. So now to be directly connected with him and he sees my gifts, and he chose to mentor me. Mind you, I'm already this is the hardest role I've done in my career so far. I'm very honest about that.
Why is it hard? Is it hard because of how parallel it is to a real life?
Yes. Yes.
So you said something earlier, and I don't want to say what you said because it was off camera. But is it because you want to act, but you feel like it's still like so real life?
So we don't believe in acting on the stage. You
What y'all be doing?
You gotta bring yourself. You gotta become the character. Mr. Lowe would tell you that. But it is hard. What was hard for me is that I tend to escape through work. I tend to get busy. I tend to just get my mind off of it. So when I got work and work was about something that I have to heal from, that's what became hard. I was like, okay, you're going to work. Yeah. But that thing that you're bottling up and you're going to try to suppress like I know you are, yeah, you're going to have to face that while you're at work. So enjoy.
I like that.
Okay. But, I will say that it is healing me and it's helping me. One of the hardest things I had trouble with at first was finding Martha's love for her dad. I don't hate you. I hate what you've done. And finding that softness, like I know that Tarika's still a daddy's girl, but I had gotten so far away from it just from life happening, And as I do this play, as I realize the answered prayers I've lived in, and even as me and my father's relationship get to a slow start of being repaired, that's when I begin to find her softness again. Because, when you're acting, you don't want to have a one-dimensional character. I can't just be, you want to have nuance. You want to have dynamics. You want to show your range, even if it's just one character. So yeah, it was definitely hard because I'm telling you, I'm looking around like there's got to be a camera in this house, you know. But it goes to show God knew that this was meant for me to be hand selected, no audition, to be hand selected off of just seeing my talent, you know what I mean? Mind you, Mr. Williams doesn't fully know about the things that I'm speaking of very indirectly in true Tarika fashion.
I want to say one thing that as you say this and now it's like everything came full circle just now to me.
Yeah.
'Cause I thought about the story he told, a real life story, and like here you have a lady who was told, "Hey, go here." She didn't say it didn't say go to him. It just said go here.
Yeah.
And then from there you do the rest of the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, you know, you're a vessel, you know, like he uses you, you know.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. I like that. There's no camera, so the camera was God in your house.
I know, right? Yeah. I'm like, it's not. I went in my mom's room. I said, "Mom, this play."
all that is to me. It's faith to me.
Exactly, and it just goes to show that even I think about the shows I had done prior. If I hadn't done this or if this hadn't worked out, I wouldn't be in this role. I really wouldn't, you know. So it just you get to a special point in your artistic journey where you're really letting God lead you. And I feel like that's where I am. I thought I understood it when I was a little younger, but I was still, no, I want this to go Tarika's way. When you fully surrender, magical things happen. And I feel like this is just the beginning of what it's like to let God lead you on this life journey, but specifically on my art journey, or more specifically on my art journey.
Right.
You have to also remember that you can't surrender and be in charge too.
Yeah.
You can't.
Some bossy honey. Listen,
but you can't surrender.
You can't.
I mean, if I am on the battlefield, we are on the battlefield.
Right.
You overtake me, and I surrender. At that point, I have no will. My will is to follow his will, whatever he tells me to do. We want to surrender, but we want to be in charge.
Yeah.
And we can't do both. You can't be the captor and the captee at the same time.
Yeah. 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I think like saying I like the fact that us talking about the play and just themes of the play, which I had in mind anyway, kind of was able to get you to talk about your life, and you opened up a little bit as well, because like I said, I seen you right that time. I didn't see no storm. You seemed fine to me, you know. But like I said,
oh boy,
once again, sometimes you put on and you just put that faith, or you just
have no
you be faith. So like I'm not going to wear what I'm going through. I'm just going to trust in whatever going.
You have to.
So I do like that, and then like I said, talking to you, I do think it's so odd when I do a guess of two.
Yeah.
Because naturally, I've always, the person I didn't know, I always be like, okay, I want to get him on. I already know in my mind. I played our episode 3 times already as y'all was talking, you know. But I do think like everything we talked about, me personally, if I could break up certain conversations that I edit and put it out, especially in clips, I think it will bring great conversation. So I might even put it out on Facebook in conversation mode.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just to, and I'll tag you, of course, and things like that. But I want to put it out and have people chime in on what they think of stuff. So maybe 2 minute clips here, 2 minute clips here, up until that day. I'll break it down somehow so I can do it each day, so they can think of, and I'll pilot, but you know, the play, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I definitely, like I said, I appreciate you coming out, and
thank you for having
us.
I'm gonna come.
Having us.
It makes me want to come to the play, and I'm not. I've been to like maybe 1-2 plays in my life, you know, if that. Even school, you gotta go. You got no choice, right?
Yeah.
I always wanted to go to one, but like I said, I always miss them because they don't promote good to me. You know? This time, way ahead of time, you know, and no excuses now. I have no excuses to go. So I want to come and I want to be able to sit there and take it in. And even us having this conversation, I've thought about things myself already. Even though I can implement things, I feel like I'm a great dad. Don't get me wrong, but like I said, you can always be better. So I think of things. Okay, he said this, that. You know what? I can see I can work on that, you know, or I didn't think of it that way. Dang, I might need to go repair that, you know. So certain things you think about as you have this kind of conversation. But that's why I said the blend of when I started podcasting of, you know, we got an older generation, younger generation. I'm in there talking with Mr. Harold, who's 60. I'm 22. I'm thinking I know it all. You know what I'm saying? Harold is like, okay, young man, you know. You know what I'm saying? And then 4 years later, I'm like, you know, you was right. Like 4 years ago. I know, I was, yeah, I know. But he didn't, you know, he never said it. It just,
Yeah.
and to be full circle.
Yeah.
And so it kind of, I've always liked that. So having a conversation made me feel like I was back in the break room again. So apologize for the long podcast. I was going to do an hour, but we ended up doing like 145. So, you know.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate y'all.
Please
Appreciate
come to the
y'all.
show.
July 26th.
July
at 3
26th,
p.m.
Maxwell Theater, Augusta University, 3 p.m. Tickets are on Eventbrite.
Definitely appreciate y'all for coming through and clap it up for y'all. You know what I'm saying? And I wish y'all nothing but success, and I will be there. on 26th.
Likewise. Yay.
Thank you.